सभिनी खां पहिरियां आऊं गुज़ारिश कंदुसि असांजो नौजवान स्कॉलर आहे बख्तियार शहज़ाद सिंधी यूनिवर्सिटी जे एंथ्रोपोलॉजी जे शोबे सां संदन तालुक़ आहे ऐं ख़ुशी जी ॻाल्हि इहा आहे त असांजा नौजवान जिते साइंस में पाण मञाए रहिया आहिनि उते अदब आर्ट ऐं एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में बि पंहिंजो नालो रोशन करे रहिया आहिनि तव्हांजे भरपूर ताड़ियुनि में आउं गुज़ारिश कंदुसि बख्तियार शहज़ाद खे तो अचन ऐं पंहिंजी प्रेज़ेंटेशन तव्हांजे साम्हूं पेश कनि.
So good afternoon, family. These days in Pakistan, when we call someone family, people think that we want them to pay our bills. But the reason I call you family is that we are connected in our love and concern for the language. So, having that in mind, let us concern ourselves with some of the serious challenges that the language has. And the research which I have today is especially going to be of concern to those who look forward to Sindhi with an eye of optimism. This study is about the phonemic change in Sindhi language and the identity crisis among the youth in Hyderabad city. As we go ahead, you will be getting a chance to look at more aspects of this. Okay, so what is this study about? This study is a research on the utterance of 4 consonants, something that in Sindhi we know as Nij Akhar, that we'll talk about at a moment further, but how the urban youth in Hyderabad are omitting these consonants in their speech, and also the vowel elisions that they make during their speech in Sindhi. Besides its documentation, a phonological modern documentation of urban Sindhi of Hyderabad, it also discusses that how these phonemes are changing and what are the sociological factors behind that, which are again deeply related to our concept of urban identity. So I really want to put some emphasis upon the urban milieu and the way identity is formed in cities. We have this notion in urban anthropology that all the cultural processes somewhat work at a different rate in an urban environment than in a conserved or rural setting. And so do the linguistic process in the city is different in an urban milieu. So recently, this study from 2019 is basically based in Karachi. This is about Gujarati and Sindhi as is spoken by youth of Karachi. And it's going to be even more interesting as we reveal further that this trend is now transferring to Hyderabad from Karachi. This is 2013. And then perhaps in future we might also have more cases appearing. And this is why me and my co-author, Dr. Abdul Razak Chinna, are planning now to have this research rendered in the form of a book. And we are going to travel to other cities of Sindh and conduct the research with the same methodology. So, when we have this, I mean, there's really scarce literature on Sindhi phonology available. And the reason people do not really consider that as a domain of their interest these days is because it takes a lot of time, and all that we can come up are with just few phonemes. But then, when we look at the impact they make when they differ, the sociological contribution they have, that is what makes us concerned about that. And this is why it is important for us to consider how this inventory of Sindhi phonemes has come to us as we speak. So as we know that Sindhi happens to be an Indo-Aryan language, and like all the Indo-Aryan family languages, its origins are in Sanskrit phonology, but more came to us from Prakrit. Dr. Famida Hussain was talking about how, I've noted, how the A in Sanskrit converts to Na. For example, Bhugal becomes Bunal. So that is a Prakrit influence. In Prakrit, we see these changes happening. And so this is a kind of structure that has come to Sindhi from Prakrit. And then we have a period of Buddhist rule in Sindh. I'm not going to go into the details, but during that period, Pali happened to be the state language, and it was very well known as well. So we have some traces in Sindhi phonology from Pali as well. So let's say Dr. Famida also mentioned another grammatical structure of how words are formed in Sindhi. Let's suppose, I'll just say one example, that is karbo rather than karan. So karbo becomes kabo and not karbo. So the elision of R with M is a very Pali structure. So let's say in Pali, I'll just give an example of the word dharma from Sanskrit, which becomes dhamma in Pali. So the assimilation of the phoneme R with M is basically from Pali, and we have that in Sindhi as well. So greater influence came later when the Arab invasion came to pass, and that is where the most of the voiceless velar fricatives such as khe and ghain are introduced into Sindhi language through this script. So this is how our modern phonology has come to develop. How this study stands very different, we'll talk, because this is a new trend in the evolution, in the phonological evolution of Sindhi. And it is very unique because it has certain phonemes which other languages do not have. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so this is a problem. During the previous historical development of Sindhi phonology, we have found that the phonemes were being added to it from Pali, from Sanskrit, from Prakrit. But in the current times, the kind of evolutionary tract it is taking, it's not adding newer phonemes, but it is eliminating the current phonemes in urban settings. And so what happens is with that, when people speak language in a different way, they perceive their identity in a different way, and the identity and interest towards language we have seen is that it's not very appealing. The language is not appealing to urban speakers. So we have identified the consonants, the 4 consonants and the vowel elisions in Sindhi language, and we have also studied what the attributes, how the attitudes of the youth are changing with that. So this study was conducted in Hyderabad as we are considering the urban aspect of the language. And I visited both the government and the private schooling and academic institutions as well, because it has been long said that privatization has really neglected the local languages. So I really wanted to see that, if that is the case, in government institutions or not, or whether the students are interested about the language in government or not, in government institutions or not. So I've conducted the study in Kasmabad and Jamshoro as well, which happen to be really Sindhi populated cities. And the status of Hyderabad city is that it is a linguistic capital of Sindhi language at the moment. Okay, so the sampling method, we have taken a total of 15 cases and 10 for the audio tests, and all of this was done through judgmental sampling because the phenomena is very rare to find. So until the cases are spotted, we cannot conduct the research. And so, sorry. So the sample was, had many variables, such as religion was a variable. There were Hindus and Muslims as well. There were males and females as well. Those educated in government and private schools as well. इन्हें जो एड़े भी केसेस हैं जिन्हें दी पहली बोली सराइकी है पर वो सिंधी गलावन पे दिना विच कुछ एड़े भी ने जहाँ दी ज़ुबान पंजाबी है पर वो अपनो सिंधी दास देने અને એમાંથી એકમાત્ર કેવલ એવો જ હતું જેમાં માતા પિતામાંથી એક ગુજરાતી બોલનાર હતા. So these interracial marriages were some of the variables. So the audio data was in the forms of voice recordings and of certain words in Sindhi which have these nij akar, and they were analyzed through Prat. That is a German software which we use to find the phonemic frequencies of the utterance. And we then compared these samples of these word pronunciations with those from pre-partition period found from Radio Pakistan, Hyderabad, to see at what variance these are. I'm not going to go into the details of the values and frequencies of the sound samples, but we'll just sum up. And then the consonants were tested through minimal tests. We'll also talk that in a further slide. For the interviews and qualitative data, we took the method of thematic analysis. All right, sorry. Okay, so a theory which has been put into application to interpret the data is William Labov's concept, his theory of social class and pronunciation. Now, this is the climax of this research, that with the phonemic change, the social class of the speaker also reflects. And this is why we see this kind of shift. So, for example, if I say, "aa raha hoon," and then if I say, "aa rahi hoon," so there is a very prominent difference we can find in of the class through the pronunciations. And this is going to be instrumental in understanding how the data is interpreted. So this is the phonemic loss we have found for the audio samples. I want you to put your hands on your throat for a moment. Just for a moment. Right here. Yes. And pronounce dal. And pronounce dal. Ge. Ge. Be. Okay. So these are known to be implosives in Sindhi. So plosives are something different, but implosives are sounds which require a hit of the glottis. The air passage has to go through a hit. So Sindhi is the only Indo-Aryan language to have implosives in it. And the other languages we have are African languages like Khimar and Kausa, and also some vernaculars of Arabic. So Sindhi has that, its charm among the Indian languages for having that. So what we have found that Be has become Be, and in the urban Sindhi, Ye has become J, Jim, Dal has become Dal, Ge has become Gaf. So it's no longer Gaun, it's Gaun. It's no longer Bay, it's Bay. It's no longer Billy, it's Billy. You see? So all the implosives of Sindhi are becoming plosives, and plosives are, found in Urdu phonology. So these are just the four, consonants which we were talking about, and this is the case in which we have vowel elisions. So let's say, now this is minimal pair test, which I had talked about in the first place. In minimal pairs, we take two pairs having the same sentence structure, words formation, and then we check the presence of the phoneme by comparing the sound. So for example, kitab and kitab. The vowel ending makes the word different. And if the word meaning is found to be different, then the presence of the phoneme is confirmed. So in modern Sindhi samples of these young speakers, we have found kitab in both cases. And those of you aware with the grammatical structure of Sindhi, these differences of vowel endings do show plurality and singularity of words. So for example, kitab are plural and kitab is singular. And then let us look at this. Sir and sur. And in these samples we have sir and sur. So these are vowel elisions. So the vowel that has been eliminated are close mid, central unrounded vowels, and near close, near back rounded vowels, the vowels with an U. All right. So this is very clear. One reason why they omit these consonants and vowel sounds is because Urdu is attractive to them, and they want to speak Sindhi but sound like Urdu. So this is how the Urdu phonology is reflected in the way the speakers speak Sindhi. Okay, one main characteristics of such cases is that they are often mistaken as non-Sindhis. You cannot tell by looking at the appearance, the way they speak Sindhi, that it is their first language. So this is one characteristic due to their accent. And they have no firm idea about identity. I mean, when I interviewed them and I asked them about the way they speak, they were not very interested about that. They responded that it doesn't matter to us. I mean, Urdu and English are more utilitarian. Okay, and this is another kind of comment which was repeatedly found, and that is, are you talking about proper Sindhi, the way my driver talks? You're talking about the Sindhi, the way my mate talks? So the kind of notion of Sindhi language they have is that it is a rural and derogatorily vulgar language. And this is not the only kind of attitude. Okay, they have no plan and time to improve Sindhi. They would rather choose to work with their English. All right. So these are the findings. The juniors, that was the age group of the speakers, 30 to 19, teenagers, and then 20 to 25 was the junior group. So the juniors were more deviated in their pronunciations, and the juniors dropped vowel endings more frequently than the consonants. Okay, the seniors who comparatively had kind of better pronunciations than the juniors, that is perhaps my or a little bit younger generation, they have had some kind of similar experience in their life. That is that they learned proper Sindhi in later ages. So in their teenage life, they also suffered with pronunciation issues. So Urdu phonology reflects India's Sindhi, reason for misunderstanding, and Sindhi is rural. This is the end of my presentation. This is a slogan which Punjabis had in Punjab. And though it is the largest regional language spoken by a community in Pakistan, it is still endangered. So this study is important for this conference, I think, is that we are trying to build bridges between these different speech communities. And what we are looking forward is to build an environment where the language could survive. But the kind of focuses that we make are more likely to how to grow the flower, how to fertilize it, how to photograph it. But we less talk about things, the diseases which people have in their nose. So, फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि गुलाब कितना भी अच्छा सा खुशबू क्यों नहीं दे रहा, मगर अगर आपके नाक में एलर्जी है, आप उसे नहीं सूंघने वाले. So this is the kind of, this is the kind of challenge Sindhi has, that it is changing its phonology, it is omitting its charm, and this is actually infusing identity crisis. So with these words, I would take my time because I've got like 2 warnings. Thank you.